Hey everyone, my name is Kayla Morton. I'm the sports editor at the East Carolinian. Welcome to the fall version of TECSperts for East Carolina's football team. This is Aaron Jackson. He's the football editor for the East Carolinian and a beat writer for football. This is Tyler Gavin, and he is the other football beat writer this semester. Hey everyone, welcome to TECSperts' third week. In this edition, we're going to be going over ECU's loss to Virginia Tech at home on Family Weekend and previewing their game at UConn in Connecticut this weekend that was rescheduled by the AAC due to the Hurricane Irma implications to our Florida teams. So guys, let's start with our thoughts against Virginia Tech. What do you all have to say?
It was definitely a tale of two halves. East Carolina came out, performed in the first half, and then was nowhere to be found in the second half.
Yeah, it was kind of the way I expected it to go. Virginia Tech eventually put the gas down and ran away from them. ECU got off to the hot start because of 3 huge plays on each of the drives, and that's kind of what got them in a scoring position.
You know, it's really tough seeing our defense give up 372 yards and 5 touchdowns to a redshirt freshman quarterback. He is a talented quarterback, but you know, I'd love to see our experience with our defense really come through and not allow that much to such an inexperienced quarterback.
Right. So as the game went along, obviously our defense and our offense broke down to what we saw in the first quarter. What do you think, or what do you guys feel was really responsible for that breakdown by our team?
Well, there was a lot of demoralizing penalties on ECU that caused Virginia Tech to get more yards and stay in the game and get out on 3rd and 3 and get that first down. And then offensively, there was not a lot of good blocking.
Well, when the Hokies run 95 plays, it's going to be hard not to rack up so many yards. They were obviously just a bigger, stronger team, and they just took advantage of the smaller Pirates.
You know, we've been talking about how the team needs to really get the run game going. Well, that's something that's really hard to do when you're down big, but, you know, they didn't try to really go after it at the beginning. Tyshawn died. We wanted to see him get going. He only had 11 carries, but he turned those 11 carries in only 32 yards. We need more production from him or somebody at the running back position.
The team only averaged 2 yards per rush, and the 2 freshman running backs both fumbled.
So that's obviously going to sink you. So Thomas Sirk was injured in the West Virginia game. He took a hit, entered concussion protocol, was not cleared, and even though suited up, was not going to play so that he could start this game at UConn. What do you think him coming back is going to help for the team?
I think Sirk back in the lineup is good and bad. Good because he does give ECU's offensive versatility that they definitely need, because he can run the ball.
Coach Montgomery talked about after the game that he was cleared to play and that he might have if they didn't think that it would further injure him for the UConn game. I think he'll definitely pose a huge threat to a weak UConn defense, who's almost as weak as the ECU defense, but with his dual threat to run and pass, it'll definitely open up a lot of lanes.
Thomas Sirk, he's an experienced quarterback. Him coming back this game in particular is really big because this UConn defense, let's be honest, they're not very good. So he's shown he can play at a high level in the ACC, so I'd love to see him really come back and just be a dominant force against such a bad team.
So besides quarterback, which position do you guys see needing to step up to make sure ECU gets this victory? Because we have looked at the schedule. Predictions are out. This is really the game that ECU has the chance to win on their schedule. This could be the only win they pick up this year. Who needs to step up in order for that win to happen?
Well, like Chase said, I do think Tyshawn Dye needs to step up. He needs to run the ball harder and gain more yards. And if Montgomery goes with the run game to start off, Sirk in the backfield with Tyshawn Dye might be a good start.
I think it starts with Coach Brandon Lynch and the defensive backs. The pass defense has been just absolutely atrocious recently after the JMU running offense got off to a hot start. But they've averaged over 330 yards in the air per game, and they haven't been able to stop a single number 1 wide receiver. And this week it was lucky enough to be Cam Phillips, who had over 190 yards and 3 touchdowns.
We heard all preseason about how dominant Jimmy Williams was. He's scoring left and right in the scrimmages. but we've really yet to see him come out in the regular season and really do much of anything. This past game, he had 1 catch for 9 yards, and that's really not going to get it done. Trayvon Brown has come in and really not necessarily replaced Zay, but he's been productive.
He's lighting them up.
Yeah, he had a 90-something yard touchdown against West Virginia, and then this past week he had a 74-yard touchdown. So he is our deep threat. He gives us something, but I want to see Jimmy Williams really come out and be productive in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. So going off of what you said, Tyler, about defense struggling, we've had all this talk about coaches, how the transition's going to be, how we think the coaches need to be switched around, but this is really the first time that coming out and saying that Corey Sargent and Love really need to step up and not get burned on every play, because they were letting Virginia Tech literally walk down the field missing plays. How do you think their play needs to change?
They definitely need to be more physical on the outsides, keeping number 1 receivers in front of them instead of them getting beat behind. It was a tough first week under defensive coordinator Coach Prunty. The most points we've allowed so far and the most yards. And I think just as time adjusts, maybe they'll get better, but they definitely need to be challenged.
With what I saw, Sargent, he played a little bit too far off the ball, while Chris Love, he played too close, getting beat down the field a lot of the times, while Sargent was not getting beat much, but he was allowing a lot of underneath passes to get.
So while our secondary did a very poor job this weekend, we're not getting any pass rush. These guys can't cover the receivers for too long. Like, we need someone to come in and really rush the quarterback to give us a chance to make a play.
Which was a problem last year too, as the ECU defensive line only had 1 sack through I think 7 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sacks are definitely lacking this season as well. So moving on to UConn's abilities, they really do have a big 3 in a rushing attack with their 2 running backs and their quarterback. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Arkeel Newsom, Nate Hopkins, and Bryant Shears, them 3 have accumulated over 130 yards every game this season. So look for them to do that again in Sunday's game.
Yeah, they've definitely beaten up a weak Holy Cross team, and then they kind of opened up the same way that the East Carolina offense opened up in the second halves of blowout games. Virginia got up 31-0 on them, and then the backups kind of came in, and then the UConn offense was able to open up.
Our old buddy Kurt Benkert used to play here, but transferred to UVA. He put up 455 yards, a UVA record on this UConn defense. So I'm really expecting us to be able to air it out. I don't know if we're going to be able to. I believe we'll be able to keep up with them, but I think it's going to be an offensive battle.
So our offense, as well as UConn's offense, really isn't good, just like both of our defenses aren't good as well. But the highlight coming out of this is that UConn's special teams is actually worse than ours, and they haven't made a field goal all season. They missed a extra point in their first game and went for 3 2-point conversions last game against Virginia and didn't convert on all of them. So how is their lack of special teams going to help ECU in this matchup?
It's going to help because they need a touchdown to score. That's what it shows on the stats. And if they can't get within the 30, it's not likely that UConn will score.
It'll always help if they have a weak special teams. The chance of missing a field goal if they can't get it on third down. And especially with the Austin Barnes, the ECU punter, who's been such a weapon this season, if he can pin the UConn special teams deep, then maybe they won't be able to make as many plays.
Yeah, field position is just about as important as really anything in the sport of football. So having a poor special team, that's obviously going to benefit us, in this game.
Okay. So do you all see any weaknesses in UConn's offense or defense that really stand out in this matchup?
Well, for offense and defense, I see that their problem is turnovers. On offense, they throw too many interceptions, fumble the ball, and on defense, they don't create enough turnovers.
No, it's the same thing with the ECU defense. They don't create many turnovers either. But one cornerback in particular UConn has is freshman Omar Fort, who's been burnt a lot. I saw their coach Randy Etzel getting on him in his press conference, and maybe that presents the opportunity for Jimmy Williams to finally break out.
Yeah, I feel like Jimmy Williams will get a good chance to break out. Last week against UVA, UConn gave up 100 yards to 3 separate receivers, and like I said, Kurt Benkert set a UVA record for yards passing. So this is going to be the game where if we do get back on track, this is going to be the game to do it.
Now, all of that's dependent on if ECU can establish a run game finally. They only even got close in West Virginia, and in the other 2 games they've been completely dormant.
Gotcha. So today the NCAA did list the rankings for all college football teams, and we are number 129 out of 130. So how do you feel about that ranking? Do you think it's correct, or do you think we should be up at all?
They are who we thought they were. We're not good, and we have to prove that we are good to get higher up on those rankings.
Well, it's not an opinion question, really. That's based on all facts, based on how many yards we've let up through the air and on the ground. But the good news there is that UConn's only 4 spots ahead of ECU. They're at, I think, 126. So,
yeah, this is the chance for us to prove people wrong. We've gotten beaten by an FCS team. We got destroyed by 2 very good programs. This is one of our 3 teams we beat last year, and we dominated them. So this is a chance to really come back out and get not just get back on track, but really prove everyone wrong that we aren't as bad as they say we are.
All right, so going off of that, moving on to score predictions. Chase, you have ECU scoring the most points in a victory prediction at 38-31. Why do you think the score is going to go in ECU's favor?
I feel like the experience Thomas Sirk brings, I know he hasn't been with his team too long, but I feel like he brings good experience, and this is going to be a high-scoring game in my opinion. These defenses have shown that they're not good. So I feel like this is going to be a high yardage passing. I hope we can get our run game going. If we can, that's going to be the deciding factor, 38-31.
Gotcha. And Aaron, you have the second most points scored for ECU at 34-27 with them coming out on top. Why do you think ECU gets the victory?
I think ECU will finally be able to take advantage of somebody's defense. I think they'll be able to run the ball, and I think they'll be able to air it out against this weak UConn.
And Tyler, you're the only one this week that's picked UConn to come out on top, and having both teams score the least amount of points and not a high-scoring affair. 24-17, why is it going to go that way?
I think both offenses actually will struggle, even though the 2 defenses really aren't all they're cracked up to be. UConn does have 1 win against a weak Holy Cross team who is also in the FCS, but they'll know how to close it out, especially on their home field. They'll have an extra day of rest, and I think Thomas Sirk coming back in, I don't think there's been any rhythm created so far for the ECU offense, and I think it's really going to be a problem.
Gotcha. And I have the closest matchup of the week, ECU coming out on top 31-29. Even though we're talking about a poor special teams for UConn, I think because ECU's defense is so bad, they will convert on a 2-point conversion. However, they will miss a field goal, and I think it's going to come down to the deciding factor on who can put more points up on that board. So that's all we have for this week. Next week we will discuss the outcome of the game on Sunday.